Hello, this is Mr. Bush, and I'm basically going to guide us through today's homework. For homework, we're basically doing a review back over some 7th grade TEKS. So the first thing, what we're doing is you have a food web up here. You have 14 different problems that you would then bubble in down here. On number 15, you just circle whichever answer y'all think is correct. There could be more than one, and we'll grade that in class tomorrow. So look over here. Here's your answer choices. And if you notice, we're not using the terms herbivore or carnivore. Instead, we're using producer, primary, and secondary consumers. So let's go ahead and start off with producers. They are basically going to be anything that is a plant. So if y'all see here, this is going to be a producer, basically any sort of plant. Now, our primary consumer is just an herbivore. So anything that only eats plants, so like a rabbit, the mouse, these guys are, or the grasshopper, if they eat nothing but plants, then they're a primary consumer. Alright, let's go ahead and look at our next one, and that's going to be a secondary consumer. Now all a secondary consumer is going to be a carnivore or an omnivore that basically gets eaten. So if y'all look here, the ladybug, basically he gets eaten by the dragonfly, but he eats the green fly, making him a secondary consumer. See the way his food chain here? Basically, it has two links, so you basically get a link here and a link here. That's why it's called secondary consumers. Basically, you have two or more links in your food web. Alright, let's look at the other type of secondary consumer. You could have an omnivore, like the bird here. Basically, he eats berries and he eats the ladybug, therefore making him a secondary consumer. Now the last is our tertiary consumer. These are the animals who do not get eaten by anything else. Basically, they are going to be an omnivore or carnivore, and they're not eaten by another animal. That's why I went ahead and put the little crown on the tertiary consumer. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the other side. Alright, the first step for a dichotomous key is basically you're just going to follow the instructions. But a lot of kids kind of get confused on a compound versus a simple leaf. So let's go ahead and look at number 4 here, and we're going to look at number 2. So if you look here, you look at how many stems you have. Right here we have one stem, and we basically have one solid leaf around this. That's going to make this a simple leaf. If you look over here, we have one stem and probably about 5 little leaflets attached to it. That's going to make this a compound leaf. So basically the difference between this one and this one is this has different lobes, but they're all connected into the same leaf. Whereas this one has a bunch of little leaves attached to one stem, making it a compound leaf. So like if you look here, this one here, simple leaf. This one over here is going to be a compound leaf because you have a bunch of leaflets attached to it. So let's go ahead and work through 2 of these together. We're going to go ahead and do number 1. So if you look here, according to the diagram, it basically says it is a simple leaf because one stem, sorry, let me get that to zoom in, one stem per main leaf. So you would go down to number 4. So you scroll down to number 4 here. Now the veins, it says, do they branch out from a central point, or do they basically branch off a stem going down the middle? So if you look here, almost all of ours are branching off this one going down the middle. So we would go to number 6. And you look here, it says the edges. Are they smooth or are they jagged? Well, they are jagged. So we look back over here, and it would be a birch tree. So you'd go down to birch, and you'd bubble in A and B. We'll go ahead and do one more of, like, let's say, a compound leaf. So let's go ahead and do this one right here. Number 7. So we start up here at 1 again. It is going to be a compound leaf because you have multiple leaflets per stem. So we would go to 2. Now, they are basically attached at several points. They're not all attached in one central point like this one is. So we will go to number 3. Now, it says basically do they have rounded tips instead on an oval shape, which that would make it a locust tree. So you'd basically just go over here, you'd find locust, and you're done. Alright, let's look at the last one. Alright, whenever you're using this homework assignment, go ahead and feel free to use the information that we went over in class. Basically like, the charge of a proton, its location, its mass, that sort of thing to help clue you in on each problem. So like if you look here at number 1, it's telling you what type of particles are found in the electron cloud. Well, you only have electrons. And as you already know, all electrons are negatively charged. If you look down here, let's say we have what type of particles are in the nucleus. Well, you have protons and you have neutrons. Neutrons are neutral and protons are positive. Now, if you remember, protons determine the identity. That's why we had that ID card on the front of an atom. And the valence electrons determines the reactivity. So for reactivity, we look for valence electrons. And for identity, we look for protons. Now, one key thing over here, I often say the term atomic mass, but sometimes on the test it will show up as mass number. That's basically going to be the same thing as the atomic mass. So you just find potassium, and then you find its atomic mass. And scrolling down here, all of this one, basically remember your formula. I'm sorry. And then you just simply move your decimal. So this is going to be moved 2 places, equaling 12. And then you move this one 2 places as well. And that would give you basically 12 divided into 600. And y'all can do the math from there. And you do the same basic thing on the last problem. It's also asking for acceleration. You're given mass and you're given the force. Alright, hopefully this is helpful. Remember, all this is due tomorrow, and y'all have a great day.